Hey, how's it going? Today I'm talking about what you should do if you feel like you need KT tape or a knee brace.
This is Running to the Castle, a podcast for injury-prone Run Disney runners on a journey to running magical miles. Join me, Dr. Allie, as I share the secrets I've gathered as a runner, doctor of physical therapy, and coach. You'll learn the exact ways I get my clients to the castle strong without feeling broken or held together with KT tape as they cross the finish line.
Okay, so I saw in a Facebook group just the other day that someone was asking about KT tape, kinesio tape, saying that they've seen a lot of runners use it to support their knees. They're wondering if they should use it, how should they use it, and basically all the ins and outs of it because they're new to running and they're noticing that their knees hurt, at least one of their knees. Their knees hurt, and they noticed it most recently after a 7-mile run in specifically the last mile and a half. And they're wondering, should they be using KT tape in order to make it so that they don't feel that? And I've added in a knee brace because a lot of people will also talk about using a knee brace instead of KT tape, especially if they don't know how to use KT tape, kinesio tape. So I have some thoughts. As always, take everything with a grain of salt, right? One thing that I notice in the comments section, now, of course, this is a social media post. This isn't a Facebook group. So these answers are coming from other runners. Nobody identifies themselves as a medical professional. Nobody identifies themselves as a healthcare professional, like a physical therapist, or any other kind of professional, like a coach or a personal trainer. Many people say that they're using KT tape. Many people suggest knee braces, and many people suggest other things. And so I have a couple of thoughts on this. My first question, whenever I read something like this, is 7 miles. How has the past month been going? The past 4 weeks, maybe even 6 weeks? And then also, what happened at the beginning of your training? So those two particular time frames are very important to me. Before we even start diving into KT tape, how to use it, or using knee braces, this is what I want to know. What has the last month of training looked like for you? And if you've been training for longer than a month, what did the beginning of your training look like? So the first 4, 6, maybe even 8 weeks. It's usually that first 6 weeks that I want to know about. And then I want to know about the most recent 4 to 6 weeks because it usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks to notice some kind of pain that comes on from common running injury causes. Now, common running injury causes are overtraining, like overloading, overdoing it. And that's really the most common. So I said causes, but really it's the one. And you can overtrain by overdoing it. You can also overtrain by underdoing something else. So you're overdoing it on the training and what loads and stresses your body, and you're underdoing it on the things that support your body. So you've heard me say there are things that build your body and there are things that support your body. I think of it as an equation. One side of the equation is your build. Your other side of your equation is your support. And when we're looking at the 6 pillars that make up a successful training plan program, you have your strength, you have your training. So that's your running, your cross training. Then you have your stretching, your rest and recovery, your equipment like shoes, and then your diet. The things that build your body are that strength and the training. So that's on one side of the equation. On the other side of the equation are the things that support your body. So that's your rest and recovery, what you're doing for that. That's your stretching. That's your equipment like your shoes, making sure your foam roller is the right one, making sure your weights are the right things, and stretch out straps and things like that. And then what you're doing for your diet, your fueling, your nutrition, your hydration. Those things support your body. So when we're talking about overtraining, it could be that your strength and your training aspect are too much, or it could be that your support, so your rest and recovery, your stretching, your diet, not really your equipment. Your equipment, of course, goes in here, but that's a small factor. It could be that all of those things are too low and you've underdone it on those things. You want both sides to balance out. If one side goes up, the other side goes up, meaning if you're training for a marathon, the amount of stretching and eating and hydration, time you spend in a hot Epsom salt bath, that amount of time, if you're training for a marathon, that time that you spend doing those things needs to equate to the time you're spending on the strength and the training. So if you go for a 3-mile run, you may not be doing as many things, as many stretches or spending as long or as many times a day stretching. Maybe you'll only stretch once a day. Maybe you'll only take a hot Epsom salt bath once a week. Maybe you'll only get a massage once a month versus when you're getting up into your 18, 19, and 20-mile runs, well, you might spend more time stretching. You might take a hot Epsom salt bath every day. You might get a massage once a week. You're definitely eating more, you're training more, so you're eating more, and you are doing these other things more. So how much you're doing the things on the training and strength side, if you're doing it for a long time, the other stuff needs to be done for a long time or more. Okay? So when we're looking at should we be using KT tape and knee braces, let's first look at these other things, because if you have the inkling to use some kind of extra support, there are ways to add natural support to your body. Okay? Your muscles give your body internal support. The stronger your muscles, the better they support your joints, the better they support the movement of your body. We are giving an external support. I used to, if you don't know this about me, when I worked in Rhode Island in 2014 through 2016, we moved to Vegas in 2016. When I worked in Rhode Island, I was the physical therapist for the Comprehensive Spine Center there. So I saw people who were trying to avoid spine surgery, who had had spine surgery years ago and needed support. I was the physical therapist who helped them with that. And they're all looking for some kind of support to support their back so that they don't have all of this pain because of whatever was going on: spinal stenosis, degenerative disc disease, herniated discs, fractures, things like that. And so many of them would come in wearing a back brace, and they would want to use that back brace during exercises because they had to stand during some of the exercises. And so when that happened, I would say you may wear your back brace for whatever you feel like you need it for, with the exception of these exercises. And if these exercises are too painful for you that you can't comfortably do these exercises without that external support, we need to downgrade the exercises. And I am never one to force somebody to do a specific thing. You know me, if your body is having pain with something, it's telling you not this, not right now. So as an example, many of the exercises I would do with people in this back clinic was some standing exercises, because many of them, especially if they had spinal stenosis or degenerative disc disease, they had a lot of pain standing for more than a minute at a time. And, they had been having this problem for years and years and years. So they could stand. It was roughly 60 to 90 seconds. No joke, not like literally 60 to 90 seconds. And then they would have to sit down. These people would have to cook sitting down because they could not last for that amount of time. So, of course, we want to be able to stand for a longer amount of time. They want to be able to shower. They want to be able to cook without having to sit down the entire time. So we would want to work on standing exercises. It was very rare that we could start with a standing exercise. The progression is laying down on your back, laying down on your belly and or side, sitting unsupported, with meaning your back was unsupported. So sitting in a chair with a back versus sitting on a stool with no back versus sitting on a chair with a back but no support under their feet. So like a high countertop chair, then standing. And sometimes we couldn't even do the sitting. So we could do what's called beach chair position, where you literally are leaning back so they can't be upright. They're still supported, but they can't be supported upright yet because they have pain. So we do it at an angle. And we do it in this progression to stabilize the back in the different positions. They naturally wanted some kind of external support, but we needed to figure out, can we get the muscles to do that external support? Or do we really need this external support with the KT tape, the back brace, all of the time? So we would go through these exercises in the beginning, start with most aggressive exercise with the least amount of pain, ideally with no pain. Some levels of pain, if you started to 0 during exercise, you can go up to a 4 out of 10 on that pain scale. If you start at a number higher, you can go up by 2 points safely. So if you started at 2, you can go to a 4 again, or if you started at a 4, you can go to a 6, things like that. And we'd make our progression. And then they would be allowed to use that brace or that KT tape during their normal activities that they anticipate having pain. So if they have to stand to do their cooking, they could wear that back brace. But if they typically don't have pain sitting, I would say don't wear the back brace sitting, because that's giving your body external support where your muscles could be working and building strength in that capacity. So we modify it. So going back to our original example with this, should we use KT tape with running? Let's first look at what training looked like. So I did some deep diving on this person. This person did the 7-mile run. That's the longest run they've ever done. They had been sharing how far they were running on this Facebook group. So I did a deep dive in that. They most recently had done 5 miles as their previous longest run. If you have been listening for any length of time, you know I do not recommend a jump from 5 to 7 miles for anybody that is new to running, injury prone, out of shape. I don't have injuries, and I wouldn't jump from 5 to 7 miles as new miles. Now, it's a completely different story if I have already built up to, let's say, a half marathon, and now I'm continuing training. I may go from 5 to 7 miles, but those aren't new miles. That's old hat. That has already been happening. That has already happened recently in the past, let's say 4 weeks. Let's say I just ran the Disneyland. No. Yes. So sorry. Let's say I ran the Disneyland half marathon. I built up to 13.1 miles. I'm going to pull up my calendar here, and just to make sure I'm remembering the dates correctly. Okay, so Disneyland half marathon, February 2nd. Then let's say I take the 2 weeks off that I typically recommend. So started jogging back again February 13th. Start back on my long runs February 16th, back to a long run February 23rd. Let's say March 2nd, I've done 5 miles again. The following weekend, I could do 7 because I didn't take a break and I've already built up to the 13.1 miles. So that's really the only exception to when I say that you can jump from 5 to 7 miles, because things like this happen. The last mile and a half was painful. Well, let's think about that. That means that this person could do 5.5 miles, no problem. Guess what 10% of 5 miles is? Half a mile. Had this person stopped at 5.5 miles, which was the amount of distance that this person could run without knee pain, without feeling like they needed that external support, we wouldn't even be having this conversation because they wouldn't have hit that 7 miles yet. So does this person need KT tape or a knee brace? If I were working with them, I would say no, because look at the jump that you made. Let's go backward. Let's not do that jump again. Let's go back to, now we would be going back to 4.5 miles, because 5.5 was fine, but it did get aggravated, so now we have to actually backtrack. We have to go down a little bit. We don't need to go all the way back to 0. It's usually backing off about 20% or so, 20 to 30%. You'll notice that's why in my training plans, the deload phase is 30% to make sure we have hit that deload that I typically see. It's anywhere between 20 and 30% is usually tolerable. So that's how I decide how far back do we have to go. So should you use KT tape? In this instance, KT tape would not help this person because they have just gone too far too fast. So my recommendation would be back off to that 4.5 miles, and let's make sure that your strength routine, since you're already thinking you need external support, let's give you that internal support. Let's back off the mileage to the right amount to help make it so things don't get aggravated. And of course, let's take care of the pain. We know that strength exercises aren't good at handling pain in the moment. That's ice, heat, hot Epsom salt baths, massage. If you take pain relievers, that could come into play for a temporary amount of time. I never recommend doing that during a workout because pain is your body's way of saying, not this, not right now. So we aren't taking it during a workout. We aren't taking it to get through a workout. We may consider taking it later. I am never advising somebody to take it. I'm giving information so that you know at what time it could work well, but always ask your prescribing provider what kind to take and if you can take it. But let's look at getting that external support. That's where strength exercises come in. Strength exercises can help prevent this problem from happening, in addition to making sure following the 10% rule, and then coordinating that whole situation, your whole schedule, to make it so that you don't overtrain and overload your body. You're giving your body that support, and you're also giving your body that oomph, that build, so that you do make progress without aggravating conditions. I hope that was helpful. If you're listening to this on the day that it drops, I am hosting a free workshop, strength training for injury-prone RunDisney runners, tomorrow, March 5th. Go to the link in the show notes to register. If you are listening to this afterward and you're interested in strength training, go ahead and reach out to me on Instagram, runDisneyDPT. I'll share what other information I have for how you can get started working on giving yourself this external support the right way and making sure that it's coordinating right with what you're already doing. For the runners that want to finish their next RunDisney race stronger and faster so you stop getting injured, you beat the balloon ladies, and you cross the finish line, I invite you to check out my newest program, Stronger, Faster, Finisher. Get the workouts you need to build speed, stamina, and strength. If that sounds like something you're looking for your next race, visit the link in the show notes to learn more. As always, thanks so much for listening. That's all for now. Talk to you soon.